welcome to CJoy Yoga. Here in the Pacific Northwest, when I am videoing this, we have been getting hammered with a winter storm that has been dumping tons of snow up here. I think we have I know we have over a foot. I wouldn't be surprised if we have about 2, because I think we got 4 to 5 more inches again last night. So needless to say, that is really heavy snow, and many of us in these parts have been shoveling a lot and lifting really heavy snow that sticks to your dang shovel equals a lot of hard work on the body. Hopefully you're remembering to use your abdomen to support, you're bending your knees a lot, all the suspects, right? However, in case you're still feeling the effects, we're going to try to get into some of those areas. Please put a blanket down on top of your mat if you're working with a mat. We want slideability, and especially during the winter season, if I'm going to be doing floor work, you're darn tootin' I want to have a layer of warmth between me and the floor. You can have any of your props or things off to the side. We may or may not use them as we move throughout, just depending on your own practice today, right? And come and lie down on your back. Already I feel better. Go ahead and take a moment, slide the shoulder blades down a little bit, but don't go too far. Some of my friends would go really far with that. I did for a long time, right? And then my bottom ribs would pop up off the ground. So you want to find a happy medium where those low floating ribs are softening towards the earth, but where hopefully you're feeling like your shoulder blades can find a little bit of flatness against the ground instead of being wrapped around the rib cage or up to your ears. And then the feet, they can be on the ground, feet wide, knees lean in, especially if you're having sensitivity in the low back from all the shoveling. You can also extend those legs all the way out, whatever feels best in your body this morning. I'm going to go with the bent knee version myself. Again, I have been shoveling, so this is what I have done the past 2 mornings to help give reprieve, and I've just been making it up as I go, trying to formulate something for you guys. Close the eyes. And the very first thing I want you to do is feel your back body against the floor. And as you do, we've done this before. It's been a little bit potentially, but I want you to feel what part of your skull is on the floor. Is it more towards the crown of the head or more towards the neck? And there is no right or wrong for any of this. It's just observing where your body is at the moment. And then when you bring your awareness into your neck, is there a large curve or a small curve or somewhere in between? Just check into the curve of the neck, and again, judging it, not judging it, but basing it on its distance from the floor. Pay attention to those shoulder blades. I already talked you a little bit into, finding that area, walking them down your back just a little bit. Are they up around the rib cage or on the side, up to the ears? Are they softening down? Is any part of your upper back against the floor? And then scan into the low ribs. Notice if your low ribs are against the floor, are they coming up off the floor? And then the low back, is the low back, again, against the floor, a little curve, a medium curve, a big curve. And then notice the sacrum. And what part of the sacrum are you on? Are you closer to your tailbone, or are you closer to your low back, or somewhere in between? And then as your awareness still stays in the sacrum, I want you to notice if it feels like the right side is heavier or the left side, and maybe they feel pretty equal, but check into that. And then bring your awareness one more time up to your shoulder blades, your upper back area, and just notice if it feels like one side of your shoulder girdle is heavier moving down to the floor than the other. And again, they might feel like they're both moving down equally weighted, and that's just something to observe. Okay, so from there, let's all put our feet on the ground with the knees bent. My friends with the knees in, let the knees separate. We're all going to go somewhere a little wider than your hips, no wider than your mat. You can kind of find where that is for your body. To your arms out, take an inhale, and with an exhale, you're going to let your knees move over to the right, but then pause for a moment. When you get in, I want you to imagine that I was grabbing the top of your left calf right by your knee, and I had a strap around it, and I just gently pulled that strap, that that leg essentially, right? The foot stays into position forward, and hopefully that starts to lengthen you through your psoas. Maybe you're feeling that a little bit through the front left abdominals. You might be feeling it somewhere else too. That's wonderful, as long as it's not sharpshooting intense pain. And then inhale, come back up, and exhale the legs over to the left. And again, imagine I have a strap around the very tippity top of your right calf, right at the knee joint, and I really gently pulled that forward and a little to the left, but mainly forward. And see if you can't just lengthen that thigh bone out of the socket, just to try to stretch the front of the right abdominals, maybe a little bit in that front thigh area, hip. And come back up to center. Go ahead and walk your feet back into hip distance. Go ahead and bring the right knee into the chest. And we're going to do a little pumping. So I like to go behind the thigh for this. It gives my arms a little more mobility, right? I can move my thigh a little further away. And I'm going to inhale my thigh away from the chest. And then I'm going to exhale my thigh back down towards the chest. And I can let my body move into that cat-cow kind of action. Inhale, naturally the spine, low back comes up away from the floor a little bit. And when I pull my knee in, naturally the low back moves down towards the floor a little bit. Let's do that one more time. And put that foot down. Bring that left leg in. Again, I like to interlace behind the thigh for this particular exercise. Inhaling the thigh away. And exhaling the thigh down towards the chest. Inhale away. Exhale back down towards the chest. One more of those. Inhale, notice that the low back comes up away from the floor a little bit, and exhale, the low back comes down into the floor. And bring that down onto the ground. Now from there, you're going to slide your right leg out. You're going to tee your arms out, and somewhat along the lines of windshield wiper, but adding on. You're going to just let your left knee rock over to the left and push that left hip up, right, by pushing into the left foot, and move that body into a little bit more of a twist with the pelvis, yeah? And go ahead and bring that back down. 2 more times. Exhale, pushing into the left foot. I lift my left hip, and I lengthen that knee forward. And back down. Now this time when I come up, I can stay right here and work from here. I might swing the left knee up towards my right armpit. I can just rest my left foot on the right thigh, or I can bring my right hand onto that thigh. I could put a block underneath my knee, and maybe the head turns to the left, and just let that body start to open here in this twist. Many of you have had me, who take me in person, have had me put my hand on your left thigh, and lengthen that left thigh a little forward and to the right. So imagine that, and that might get you a little extra oomph on that left side of your vertebrae. And come back down to the ground. Extend your left leg out and pause for just a moment. And then you're going to slide that right foot back, put the foot on the ground, take an inhale. With your exhale, the right knee just kind of moves over to the left a little bit. I push into the right foot and I lift my right hip. And let that set back down. Feel free to turn the head. I forgot to say that on the first one. Exhale, lift that right hip. Head would turn to the left, to the right, sorry. And back down. I might be a little off on rights, lefts right now. Go ahead, lift the right hip, let it move over to the left a little bit. You might just stay right here, turning the head to the right. You might swing that right knee up a little bit, and you can either put a block underneath your left knee, put your right foot on your left thigh and rest. You can put your left hand on your thigh, whatever part feels good for you, but just pause. Imagine my hand in your right hip crease, lengthening your right hip down to your left corner of your mat. And take a breath. And roll back down. Extend your right leg out and just pause for a moment. If any of these moves feel too big for your low back at this time, make them smaller. You get to regulate, right? Take modifications. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring the right foot onto the ground, knee bent. Bring the left foot onto the ground, knee bent. And now we're going to go into a little cat-cow. So interlace your hands behind your head. If your shoulders are giving you any grief today, just tee the arms out and work from there. Take an inhale, and on your inhale, you're going to go down with your head, your arms a little bit, and your buttocks, and let your low back arch. What would be cow pose if we were on hands and knees right now, yeah? And then exhale, pull the belly down, try to flatten the low back down. You might even lift your arms, your elbows up, and lift the head a little bit. Stay down on the ground if that's too much for your head or your neck. Inhale, and again, I come down. I gently put pressure into the earth with my head, shoulders, arms, and hips. If your arms are higher, just move them towards the earth. And exhale, pull the belly up, bringing the elbows in and up. One more time like that. Inhale. So again, technically my spine is moving between back bending and a forward fold like it does when I do cat-cow. We're just in a different relationship to gravity than on hands and knees. Now we're going to add on. Inhale, push down gently. Exhale, lift up first, and once you're up, let your right elbow move towards your left hip. And inhale, coming all the way back down. Sorry if my microphone is against my, I'm trying to keep it free. Exhale, go ahead and come on up, but I'm also cold. Let your left elbow move towards your right hip. And inhale down. Well, I'm actually not with this shirt on, which is why I have the big fleece on. And there's your series, right? So you'll exhale and come up to center and then veer over with the right elbow towards the left hip. And you'll inhale down. If it's okay, take your cow tilt. And then you'll move into cat with the pelvis in the back. Come up and then left elbow towards right hip. Do one more of those on each side. And if you're on a different breath than me, that's totally fine. But hopefully you haven't already done 10 of these. Otherwise, I would suggest moving down. When we want to open the fascia, which is mainly what I'm trying to get into. Yes, muscular body, but mainly fascia right now, right? You want to move nice and slow and just slowly stretch that fascia. And come on back down and release the arms down. Walk the feet out a little bit, lean the knees in, pause, and just take a breath from there. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll over onto our belly. And hopefully you don't have to put too much effort into that. You can just kind of roll over. I'll move my mic pack real briefly here. And in what is called crocodile. You can stack your hands. I'm making pillow fists, so my head's a little higher for vocal quality. But you might lift your right leg and just kind of see if you can lengthen the hip out, reaching the heel back so that you get a little space at the hip joint. Better way to say that. And then go ahead, lift the other leg and try to do the same thing for that. Uncurl your toes and just take 3 breaths. Noticing the breath. If there's an area in your back you're noticing is restricted or feeling contracted at all or tight, right, you might consider breathing directly into that area, trying to create space. It's amazing what the breath can do. We have to be patient, but the breath, I think, can open, especially the torso part of our body, just as much as a lot of our physical movement. So now from that crocodile position, right, you're going to go ahead and you're going to press down into the feet and let the thighs get buoyant, move the tailbone down, and then you're going to keep your elbows down, but go ahead and push down and let the body lift up into a variation of a low cobra, right? Now when you get there, traction your hands back towards your belly button, but also traction your belly button forward towards your hands. And hopefully you're starting to feel the front of your abdominals get a little stretch. And it's not super sensational, so don't go for big sensations here. And come on down. And what you may or may not feel is you're also starting to stretch. There's a ligament that runs the whole front side of our spinal column. And that can get really tight if we're in that rounded position a lot. So we're also starting to move into that ligament a little bit. Many other things too, but those are the main 2 reasons I'm doing it. Now from there, one more time, push down to the feet, thighs lift, tailbone down, push into the arms and come up a little bit, and then traction your hands back towards your belly. Your belly tractions forward towards your hands. Think of the crown of the head lengthening out, so you lengthen all sides. Shoulder blades, without being aggressive, can they soften just a little more towards your buttocks? Take another inhale, and exhale, come on down. We're going to do one more thing from this place. It's a right-left situation. So you're going to go ahead and do exactly what we've been doing. Feet down, thighs lift, tailbone down, come on up, right? Now, move your elbows, slide them over to the right a little bit, and keep your hips where they are, but slide your belly button a little over to the right as well. Now, curl your toes under for this version, push your heels back, and traction your hands towards your belly button towards your hands. And maybe now you feel a little bit more in the left internal side of the abdominal cavity, I'll call it. And breathe through there. And then you're going to come back through center. We're going to go directly to the other side. So just take your time and kind of move a little off to the left with the arms, but also the belly button moves that way as well. I push my right heel back, both of them, but particularly my right heel. I'm going to traction my hands to my belly towards my hands, and hopefully the right front side of your abdominal cavity is getting a nice big stretch. And by big, again, if you're a really flexible person, you might not feel tons of sensation. Don't go crazy trying to find it. You probably need more stability than you need flexibility. Come back to center and come down and rest, breathing into any areas that feel tender, tight, restricted, constricted. We're going to put our hands next to our low floating ribs and push back into child's pose. And hopefully this feels nice on the low back and like it lengthens some of those muscles a little bit without causing any kind of bulging of discs or anything like that. If this is not the pose for you, you could just come on up to seated. We'll meet you there. Well, our hands and knees will meet you there in a little bit for some cat-cows. Hips could be higher. You could have a blanket behind the knees. I know I always say 500, variations, but, we are each our own being. And so I really, I can't express it enough. Find the yoga that's right for your body. Come on up to hands and knees. We'll meet there. Knees come in, feet go a little wide. And then inhale, reaching that chest forward. And here we are in a more classical version of cat-cow. Exhale, pull the belly up, round the spine up to the sky. One more like that, and then we're going to do a little different add-on with it. And exhale, round. Now come to the center, and we're going to isolate. We've done this recently, but anyone who's new to it, right? I want you to imagine that you have a little nubbin of a tail on your tailbone sticking out behind you. And I want you to go ahead and I want you to draw a circle on a canvas behind you, right? So if it helps you to imagine it's a paintbrush or a pencil or a marker or some such, go ahead and go the other way. And just really gently moving through the pelvis, low back region, right? Trying to get a little space gently in that area. And then come to neutral. Now we're going to go into the rib cage. So go ahead and circle your ribs. Imagine that it's the xiphoid process, the very bottom of the sternum, that is doing the circling here. And when you're ready, you'll go ahead and you'll move the other direction. And then turn your fingers in towards one another, if that's okay with your wrists. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to circle, right? Bending the elbows, go ahead and circle that upper back. I've got another upper back stretch coming in a little bit that hopefully will feel really nice, but this is a start, right? Go ahead and move the other direction. Keep breathing. Come back to center, turn your fingers forward, and then go ahead and if there's any other additional little movements, hips towards shoulders, shoulders and hips away from each other. I always kind of think of this as a more animalistic kind of movement, but whatever works for you, go ahead and just try to find any little nooks and crannies in your body. Head can do what feels right and good. Right for today is what I mean by that. And then come to center. So now you're going to go ahead and you're going to sit on either hip. I'm not going to specify so that you can face towards the screen, right? And I'm leaning on my bottom arm, and I have a triangle happening, so I have it out a little bit a distance, right? My top hand, by the way, feet can stack, feet can come, legs can come apart. Really, it's whatever's comfortable in your hips. I like to lift up sometimes to get space at my hip joint. You could pad. Bring your top hand behind your head at the occiput. If that hurts your shoulder, come out to the ear and drop the elbow a little lower. Take an inhale with an exhale. You're going to drop that top elbow down towards that bottom arm. Anywhere. Inhale it up. It's not a goal to get to the arm or the wrist or the elbow or anything. It's just that movement. As I start to bring that elbow gently down and in, I'm stretching the area in my upper back, and that's really what we're going here for. Going for here. The next time you're down and in, let that elbow start to circle. I was gonna say wide, but maybe you want a smaller circle, right? I'm demonstrating the wider one, but maybe that's more than what your body wants. Maybe your body would like to have a much smaller circle with it. Go ahead and go the other direction. And if you're in a rush, in a hurry, please slow down, right? Especially if you're talking about tenderness in the back from having been worked or anything like that. You don't want to move quickly with that. You want to let that just slowly open up. We're going to drop it down to the forearm. Forgot to put in a modification. If your wrist doesn't like it, you could be on the forearm the whole time. Hand comes up, inhale and exhale. Elbow drops towards the other elbow-ish. Inhale up. As big or small, you get to self-regulate. Exhaling in, you do not have to look like me or anyone else. You're just looking for that place in the upper, probably the top part of your back is where you might feel it, but you might be feeling it on the upper back of the bottom arm, and that's okay. Go ahead and circle. I do find that when I'm on my hand, it tends to be a little higher on the outside of about the middle, kind of lower part of my shoulder blade. Switch the direction of the circle. And that when I'm in my forearm, it tends to drop it down a little bit more towards the bottom edge and under my shoulder blade, kind of bra line area. But as I say that, then I'll have a day where, go ahead and push the floor away and come up to seated. I'll have a day where it's all on the right side in one very specific spot, you know, stuff like that. Feet can be stacked, knees can be separated. Bottom hand moves out a little bit so you have a diagonal. Come to your forearm if your wrist is really sensitive. Come onto a block or a chair, right? Bring that hand up, elbow. Can be lower if you come to the ear, if that's too much to be behind that. Take an inhale with an exhale. Move the elbow down and in. Inhale up. And I encourage you, play with some of these modifications because you might think, oh, no, I don't need that, I'm fine. But you might be like, oh, actually, it's not that it's better or worse, it's just maybe there's an area of your body you didn't realize that gets found when you slightly change the position of the hand or the elbow or the head, etc., the shoulder. See, today I feel this line goes all the way from my shoulder blade down into my lower right back, which that's my dominant side. That's the side I've been using to shovel the most. Go ahead and circle. Also, a word to the wise, switch out the hand that you have forward on the shovel and try to do both sides of your body. Go ahead and go the other way. Split it so that it's not one dominant side taking the brunt of everything. The next time the elbow comes up, you can bring the hand down to come onto the forearm. Bring the hand up again. Inhale, exhale, bringing that down and in. Inhaling up. And there's your pattern. How has it shifted? Has it shifted at all? Maybe it feels exactly the same as when you were on your one arm. And then the next time you're down and in, feel free to do circles. What size? I don't know, play with it. What does it feel like when the elbow moves this direction or that direction, when it's a little smaller or a little bigger? Maybe there's a spot that's like, oh yeah, and you want to stay there and you want to take 2 breaths, right? So find the areas for you that feel like there you're getting your spot. You can tell I'm trying to get my spot right now. I can't even talk. Bring the elbow up and put your hand on down. Come back up to a seated position. That said, you are potentially at home or in a place where you can chill out for a little bit. You might just lie down on your back and take a shavasana and just relax all of the muscles. I would encourage you to do that. However, I know some of you are on a time limit, and I wanted to try to make this between 20 and 30 minutes, and we're there. So if you're on a time limit, you might come to seated and end with me there. Either way, we're always looking for that long spine, right? That hollow bamboo flute, so that communication, that energy can move through our spinal column. The message is down into the body from the brain, but also from the body back up into the brain. So how can you facilitate that, but not be rigid and still find softness in your body? Notice the back body. And I know you're not laying against the ground right now necessarily, but still that idea of when we lay down at the beginning and we noticed that back body, our natural curves, were they more curved, less curved, right? Maybe, hopefully, we found a little bit of our natural curves back in the length of the spine. Maybe there's a little less tenderness. And maybe there isn't, and we're patient with that. And we still love our body. We're all on the same team. Bring the hands together in front of the chest, inhale. Exhale, bow the head in gently. And taking a moment of gratitude. Even for the snow and all the weight and all the shoveling, or, I personally don't have an issue with that. I love it. I've been enjoying the heck out of all this snow, but I know for some people it feels like it's a little oppressive and we are moving towards spring or whatever that might be. Some of us don't even have the same situation of snow when you're watching this. But if there's something that's bringing you down, can you focus on something that's really positive? Namaste, friends. One more thing, and then I'll leave you alone. For my shovelers, right? I know you probably know, but it's all the stuff we do in yoga class, right? When you go to shovel, please do not shovel from this place, right? Bend your knees, think of chair pose, legs can be together or wide. We use the low belly, we put some weight in the heels, we bring our shoulder blades down our back, and we use the power of the back body, right, without it being unsupported and trying to use that and then bearing the brunt of that pain. Love you.